The U.S. Census Bureau just released its June new residential construction report, and the headline was that housing starts jumped 19% from May. In plain English, construction began on far more new housing units than the month before. And if you're one of the millions of people out there trying to buy a house, that sounds like exactly the news you've been waiting for. More homes going up should mean more options for buyers, maybe even some price relief eventually. Except when you look at single-family homes, the kind most people actually want to own. Starts didn't go up at all. They fell compared to a year ago. So where'd that 19% come from? That increase does not mean builders suddenly started putting up 19% more single-family houses. The Census Bureau combines every new housing unit into one headline number: single-family houses, small multifamily properties, and apartments in larger buildings. And almost the entire increase came from apartment construction. Multifamily starts jumped 76% in a single month, while single-family starts were essentially flat. So the 19% headline was driven almost entirely by apartments, not by an increase in the houses buyers are looking for. Even that apartment surge needs context. May's multifamily number had fallen to an unusually low level, so June may be more of a bounce back than the beginning of a genuine construction boom. Joel Berner at Realtor.com says it will take several more months of data before the underlying trend becomes clear. Now, for anyone actually trying to buy a home, single-family starts, the actual houses families go out and purchase, came in down 3.2% from a year ago. And single-family starts have been declining year over year for several consecutive months in a row now. First American economist Odeta Kushi put it pretty plainly. The headline figure overstates the strength in home building, and the forward-looking data is even worse. Building permits, which tell you what's coming next because you need a permit before you can break ground, fell 3% in June. Analyst Logan Mohtashami describes current permit levels as near-cycle lows. So the pipeline of future homes isn't growing, it's actually shrinking. So if you're watching this and thinking, okay Dave, why aren't builders just building the houses people need? That's exactly the right question to ask. And the answer is that builders are stuck. If this kind of breakdown is useful to you, hit subscribe and the like button. It genuinely helps the channel keep going. Now let me walk you through why the math just doesn't work for builders right now. Mortgage rates are still elevated because of higher long-term treasury yields, and that does two things at once. It keeps buyers sitting on the sidelines, and it makes the builder's own financing more expensive. According to NAHB, costs for materials, transportation, and insurance just keep climbing. And housing analyst Logan Mohtashami argues that if you strip out the COVID-era spike, new home sales haven't really grown in close to a decade. They're basically back at 2019 levels. So builders are dealing with higher costs, and they're looking at a market where demand hasn't meaningfully expanded. Multiple sources indicate builders are sitting on elevated unsold inventory right now, and according to Mohtashami, some of them have been offering buyers sub 6% mortgage rates just to move the homes they've already built. They're cutting prices, they're buying down rates, and all of that compresses their margins. So starting new projects in that environment means building homes they're not confident they can sell at a price that actually makes sense. And this is the core of the problem. When a builder cuts prices and buys down your rate, that money comes straight out of their profit. So the homes they've already built are selling at thinner and thinner margins, and in some cases, barely breaking even. Now ask yourself, if you're that builder and you're already struggling to move the inventory sitting on your books, why on earth would you go break ground on a brand new subdivision? You wouldn't, you'd wait. And that's exactly what we're seeing play out in the permit data. Builders aren't pulling permits because the economics of starting new projects simply don't pencil out when your existing homes are already hard to sell. The ROAD Act targets zoning and regulatory barriers, which could help on the supply side over time. But easier permits do not create buyers who can afford today's prices and mortgage rates. Even NAHB says implementation will not be immediate, so it does little to change the current slowdown in single-family construction. And think about what that means in practical terms. Even if a municipality streamlines its permitting process tomorrow, a builder still has to look at the cost of land, the cost of lumber, the cost of labor, the cost of financing, and then look at what a buyer can actually afford to pay at a 7% mortgage rate. If that math doesn't work, a faster permit doesn't matter. Regulation adds cost, but the bottleneck right now is affordability. Now you might ask me, Dave, if the monthly numbers are this noisy, what's the real picture? Here it is. According to housing analyst Bill McBride, year-to-date total starts are up just 0.5% compared to the same period last year. 0.5%. After all the monthly drama, the surges, the collapses, all those headlines, Construction is basically flat. And the NAHB Wells Fargo Builder Confidence Index came in at 34 in July, which is well below the 50-point line that separates positive sentiment from negative. Kushi expects builders will stay cautious through the rest of 2026 because of elevated inventory, softer demand, and affordability challenges. Nobody in the industry is expecting a turnaround anytime soon. And when builder confidence sits that low for this long, it becomes self-reinforcing. Cautious builders pull fewer permits, which means fewer homes in the pipeline, which means supply stays tight, which means prices stay elevated, which means affordability doesn't improve, which means demand stays soft, and then builders stay cautious. It's a cycle, and nothing in the current data suggests anything is about to break that cycle open. So who actually benefits from what's being built right now, and who gets left behind? According to NAHB data, there are about 680,000 apartment units under construction, compared to roughly 580,000 single-family homes. America is literally building more apartments than houses. If you're a renter, that pipeline may eventually ease things in the rental market. But if you're trying to buy a home, the construction that's happening right now is just not for you. And it gets worse when you look at where things are being built. According to Realtor.com's analysis, single-family completions in the South surged, but sales there are actually declining. So builders in the South are finishing homes they can't move. Meanwhile, in the Northeast and Midwest, where demand is strongest, single-family completions fell. So America is building the wrong type of home, and it's building them in the wrong places. And this geographic mismatch is not a small thing. If you're a buyer in the Northeast looking at the national data and thinking, well, at least more homes are being completed somewhere, that doesn't help you at all. Those completions are 1,000 miles away in markets where buyers aren't showing up. And the builders in your market, the ones who could be building the homes you'd actually buy, they're the ones pulling back the hardest because land costs and regulatory burdens tend to be highest in exactly those high-demand regions. So the places that need homes the most are getting them the least, and the places getting the most homes are the ones where demand is softening. That's the mismatch, and nothing in the current policy environment is fixing it quickly. Now there is one genuine bright spot, and I want to be honest about it. In those southern markets where builders are sitting on inventory, buyers can actually benefit right now from price cuts and builder incentives. If you're actively shopping in parts of the South, builders are competing for your business, and that's real leverage you can use. But frankly, these incentives exist because of the mismatch, and they don't signal a healthy market. So what does all of this actually mean if you're trying to buy a house? Realtor.com senior economist Jake Krimmel estimates the country faces a shortfall of roughly 4 million homes. And at current permitting levels, that gap isn't closing. Permits are falling, not rising. Analysts expect builders to stay cautious about launching new single-family projects through the rest of the year. The new law is a long-term play at best, so don't expect a building boom. The forces holding back single-family construction, the costs, the weak demand, the excess inventory, those aren't going away this year. And that $4 million gap is frustrating because nobody disagrees that we need more homes. Builders know it, economists know it, policymakers know it. The demand is there. There are millions of people who want to buy. But wanting to buy and being able to buy at today's prices and rates are two completely different things. So you have this massive structural deficit, and the industry that's supposed to close it can't do so profitably. That's the trap. The shortage keeps prices high, but the high prices are part of what's keeping builders from adding supply. It feeds on itself. So that 19% housing starts jump is real data, and more apartments coming to market is genuinely positive for overall housing supply and eventually for renters. Both of those things are true. But if you're a family trying to buy a house, single-family starts are declining, permits are falling, and the pipeline of homes for sale is not growing. The headline isn't wrong, it's just not about you if you're a buyer. And if you want to know what to actually watch going forward, forget the total starts number. The signal that matters is single-family permits. When those start rising, that's when the pipeline is genuinely turning around. Right now, they're falling. The ROAD Act is a multi-year question, not a quick fix. And whether demand recovers enough to give builders a real reason to break ground on new projects, that comes down to mortgage rates and affordability. Until rates come down enough to bring buyers back in volume and make the construction math work again for builders, nothing structurally changes. The gap between what's being built and what buyers actually need is structural. And one law plus one good month of data don't fix that. But now you know which numbers actually tell the story. And that puts you ahead of anyone who just read the headline. If this was useful, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, are you seeing any of this play out where you live?